Hello everybody. It is Friday the 22nd of August. The time of course is 10 past tomorrow, and in this essay I'd like to discuss the headlines that I keep hearing and seeing, which are all echoing the same theme of companies all over the world are pouring billions of dollars into generative AI, yet the promised collective productivity gains just aren't showing up. The New York Times summed up that narrative actually in a piece they published just this week. And a quote from that was, nearly 8 in 10 companies have reported using generative AI, yet just as many report no significant bottom line impact. I'll repeat that. Nearly 8 in 10 companies have reported using generative AI, yet just as many report no significant bottom line impact. It's the kind of headline that must feel satisfying for them to write, and probably for many business leaders to read, because of the certainty and the conviction of that messaging. What it's saying is the technology is overhyped, the bubble is wobbling, maybe this whole AI thing is sliding, as and the New York Times actually said this, into a trough of disillusionment, which is of course a reference to the famous Gartner hype cycle. So psychologically, I think that conclusion acts like a get out of jail card for those who are not well informed about AI. Reading those headlines, they're still sitting on the fence. It offers them a really convenient excuse just to put AI to the side and to delay the change that it's asking for. I have a reality check for the people who are writing those headlines and for those who are reading them and surrendering to the easy out that they offer. AI's problem is not the technology. The problem is us, the humans. So also this week, I read a post by Connor Grennan. He's a dean of students at NYU Stern School of Business, also one of the best AI commentators in the world to follow, in my opinion. He put it pretty crisply in a LinkedIn post that he published this week, and I will link below this video to both the NYT article and to Grennan's post. But he responded to that same article and he said, the problem is not the tech, it is behavior. And it won't surprise you to know, I think he's right. So leaders all over the world, they keep handing out AI subscriptions and then ticking the box saying that they're doing AI, expecting that adoption and impact will just follow those subscriptions magically. But as Grennan noted in his LinkedIn post, quite humorously, that's the equivalent of dropping a treadmill into every lounge in the nation and then acting surprised when obesity stats don't change and those treadmills just become clothes horses instead. What he's getting at is the tool is not the transformation. The subscriptions are not the transformation. Our behavior is. And that's why I think those headlines, like the New York Times headlines, are so dangerous in boardrooms and in C-suites. And to be quite honest, it's why those headlines piss me off. They plant the idea that the technology is not ready yet. The technology is not fully baked, when in fact it's actually cultural change and leadership capability that's not ready. And so if we believe those headlines and narratives, then we're confusing financial investment, billions of dollars, for impact. One does not equal the other, right? So it's easier, I think, for people to say AI hallucinates than to admit that middle managers, for example, have no incentive to redesign their workflows around AI, or that executives are quietly hoping that the AI storm blows over because they themselves aren't AI literate, and therefore those executives are being held back by the same AI myths, anxieties, and lack of practical AI skills as the workforces that they lead. So we're all conditioned to believe that technology is plug and play. That you buy the software, you install the system, and then wait for the ROI. That's the way that it's been for the past couple of decades. But generative AI does not work that way. It is weird. It is fundamentally weird. It's not the same as traditional software. And so it demands literacy, fluency, demands training, and it demands psychological trust. And that trust, by the way, is not just in the tools. The trust is not just in the technology, but the trust has to be in the assurances that people are getting from their leaders that AI is here to help them and not replace them or replace their job satisfaction. So to admit to all of that, I think, is to admit that company culture itself must change to train and encourage and incentivize and celebrate AI. And that's much harder than blaming a tool, right? So when hallucinations happen or when AI usage data looks flat within a company, the instinct probably is to point the finger at the technology. That's what these headlines are saying. And I get it that that's convenient, I get it, it's reassuring, but ultimately I think it's just a sidestep. And the more the media repeats it, the more it becomes boardroom gospel. And that's why I feel really strongly that senior leaders need to get hands-on themselves, and then that's where it all starts. Senior leadership teams cannot delegate AI literacy to their teams, just give them subscriptions and hope to govern effectively from the sidelines. If you, as senior leaders, haven't sat with these tools and pushed them through their own workflows and experienced like the frustration and the remarkable breakthroughs of doing a task in hours that AI took days, of doing a task in hours with AI that took you days to do manually, then you cannot fully appreciate what's at stake with these tools. And you won't tangibly feel how revolutionary the gains can be for your teams, nor, by the way, will you feel how quickly or understand how quickly those same gains could flow to your competitors. So cultural change starts with the example of when executives, senior leaders are using AI visibly and well, and they back that up with usage policies, training, incentives that encourage safe and responsible AI adoption, and that gives permission for the rest of the organization to follow. And this has to be practice, like real grounded practice for senior leaders, not just theory or policy. So it's my hope that leaders resist letting these headlines shape their strategy, because in all honesty, those headlines are most probably written by reporters who are not AI literate themselves. Stories like that New York Times piece that I'll link you to below are not harmless. I see it in my own work, what happens when they become the excuses in C-suites and boardrooms that stall progress, right? This isn't theory, this is the world that I live in, it's what I see and experience every day. The tech is real, it is very powerful, it is driving productivity, and it's incredibly energizing to be a part of. And I wish that more leaders, more companies got to share in that feeling. So please, let's stop blaming the technology. Generative AI is powerful, it's proven, it's ready. What's missing is leadership behavior. And so my call is for more training, practice, AI literacy, for hands-on fluency for senior leaders. Because as with any cultural change, AI begins at the top. So organizations, in this sense, organizations do not rise to the level of their AI subscriptions, they stay fixed at the level of their cultural behavior. And right now, cultural adaptation and leadership behavior is the real AI handbrake. So I would love to hear your thoughts, whether it's in the comments below on this page or over on my LinkedIn page, because I believe this conversation is one that we need to be having openly and together.